Hi everyone! In my last video I discussed, an inability to focus as a behavior of ADHD, especially in adults. These particular behaviors are especially effective when you're an adult because they come into play more in the workplace or in the home environment or even higher education or social life. Anyway, now in this one I said I was going to be covering a lack of attention, detail, carelessness, forgetfulness, and that kind of thing. So before we get into it, usual mention, if you like content you want to see more, then follow me here, leave a like, comment, questions in the comments, requests in the comments, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and repost. And let's get into it. Okay, so people with ADHD tend to be quite forgetful, and that's down to a number of factors. Not just, a lack of attention, which is, probably the first thing that comes to mind when you think of ADHD and forgetfulness, lack of attention. But there's more to it than that, as there always is. For instance, it can depend on the low dopamine levels in your brain, which I've talked about dopamine before, and other such enzymes or hormones that affect your attention in your brain. It can also come down to your sleep. I've also mentioned recently that ADHD can affect your sleep, make it harder for you to fall asleep, stay asleep, and get up. And if you have a poor sleep schedule, you have poor memory. But aside from that, it's also things like, how do I put it? It's like ADHD can affect your working memory. Essentially, the main thing with ADHD is your brain processes information in a disorganized way. Alright, so instead of being like, perhaps in your typical brain, it would be like, okay, so here's this information, here's this information, here's this information, one after another, what's more important, what's less important, what's going to happen sooner, what's going to happen later, when your appointments are, where you've put your keys, that kind of thing. If you have ADHD, that's all a little more jumbled. It's not so neat and tidy and filed away. And because of that, it can affect things like your working memory. Now, the part of your brain, the bit called working memory, or referred to as the working memory, holds short-term information, and that can be affected. And if that's affected, it'll make it harder for you to remember short-term information. Good example is literally, where did you set your phone down? Now, this happens to me every day, at least a couple of times. I'll go to my room and I'll put my phone down if I'm going to get something out of one of my drawers, and I'll forget that I've put it there. I'll carry on with my day because I don't need my phone, and then when I realize I don't have it with me, I'll think, wait, where was it? And I can't recall for the life of me. See? So, and if you're an adult, this is going to come into play a lot, because it's going to be things that are more important. So not like when you're a kid and you forget your toys, it'll be like your keys and your credit card and your phone and your glasses and the TV remote. So there you are. It's just those little bits of information can get lost in the stream of thought. And besides that, then there's also like brain fog. So when that happens, it what brain fog is basically like a slowing down of your ability to think and process information. So, for instance, like me, a lot of the time in these videos when I'm talking, I go to say something and my brain slows down gradually because I know what I want to say, I got all the information in my head, but I don't know how to phrase it, and it'll start slowing down and hesitating, and it causes these gaps in my speech. So that's brain fog, but that then can contribute to your forgetfulness or lack of attention, detail, or your carelessness. Now, these aspects are kind of extra frustrating if you have ADHD, because if they happen in school when you're an adult, it kind of makes you look like a bit of a ditz, or a bit klutzy perhaps, and clumsy. And well, other than the fact that that isn't a great feeling, a lot of the time other people will just see it as humorous, funny, and kind of, in my experience anyway, I've been looked down on it just for those little things. For instance, I used to forget my homework all the time, and it was because, like I've said before, I had trouble organizing what homework to do when, and I do some of it, but not all of it, or I'd think I'm gonna do it, and then I'd forget to do it, and then the day would come when I have to hand it in, I wouldn't, and the first time or the second time teachers lenient, and they're like, oh, it's okay. But then when it starts stacking up, they start seeing it as you just don't care, or you're not interested in learning, you don't want to do the homework. And that's when they get angry or frustrated with you, or start to look down on you in class. That happened to me a lot, and it was really hard for me to explain to teachers, no, I really, really love learning. I want to do my homework, actually. I just keep forgetting that I have it. Or I'll forget ingredients that I need for cooking class. And even now, a lot of the information when it comes to my appointments and my meetings, I tend to leave to my mother as a sort of backup. She keeps them all stored in her phone, keeps them all stored in her head because she's great with that kind of stuff, and I'm not. I'll write down my notepad, but sometimes I'll even forget that I've put that information in my notepad. So see, it becomes quite frustrating and difficult to deal with. Again, if it comes to things you have an invested interest in, it's a little harder to forget things. And I'm saying now, forgetfulness does not mean you have a terrible memory, okay? All in all, it doesn't. Because I have a pretty decent memory. When it comes to events in my life, things that really stand out, they stand out vividly, no matter how long ago they happened. Conversations I have with people, when I feel like they're important, will stick to me, and I can recall them word for word. Sometimes people with ADHD also have a really good memory, but it's only applied to certain areas in your life. So in my case, it's information that I like, or it's lists. So if I get a shopping list and I go shopping for my parents, then they'll give me a shopping list, they'll just say it once and I got it in my head. Yeah? I play a game sometimes, like a party trick, where I'll take a deck of 50 cards, and I got this from like a Darren Brown book, by the way, mess them up into a completely disorganized sequence, memorize them in that disorganized sequence. Then my mother will take the cards, and then she'll go, right, what's the first card? And I will recall what the first card is, and I'll know them all straight, one after the other, and it'll be hard for me to forget. I memorize my scripts for my drama in 5 minutes or less, that kind of thing. So I have a good memory. It's just I'm forgetful at the same time. So if you are someone with ADHD who knows you're a bit careless, you know you're a bit forgetful, or you know you have a lack of attention to detail sometimes, and that's usually just because all the information in your brain is getting jumbled, it's colliding with each other, like I've said before, it's overwhelming. I can kind of explain the lack of attention to detail. Like, imagine now, if you're a gamer, you'll know what I'm talking about here, and you have a new mod on your game. Now, that mod, say it messes with the graphics, makes them more high def or something like that, or better sound system, or adds more missions. Now, that's a lot of detail to add into a game that's already got a lot of detail, especially if it's an open world one. So sometimes if you have those mods, they're going to overlap each other, the information is going to get all jumbled up or crisscrossed, there'll be too much detail in one area, and the game will crash, right? Think of that like the same kind of things happening inside your brain if you have ADHD when it comes to some details. Not all details, just some. But again, if you're someone with ADHD who's forgetful, don't worry, don't think that it makes you, I don't know what the word is, not inferior, but don't worry if it makes you feel a little bit ditzy, clumsy, worthless. It's very easy to go down a negative sort of rabbit hole in your head. Don't worry about that, because you can have a good memory and be forgetful, okay? You can have great attention to detail and at the same time miss some details. Like, I will do that a lot as well when I'm looking for something and I've lost something in the house. I'll go looking and I might pass it several times and it just won't ring with me that it's there. It's like it doesn't even appear to my vision. So, and lots of that has to do with the brain. Now, this whole area has a lot to cover, especially when it comes to forgetfulness versus lack of attention to detail, because they're a little different. So what I'm thinking is in the next video, I'm going to cover this topic a little bit more and in more detail, with a little more explanation on how it works inside the brain. Now, if you're interested in that, please follow me, leave a like, comment, questions in the comments, requests in the comments, and repost. And yeah, that's all. So I guess I'll see you soon. Bye.